Today is our first episode of the High Castle Show, where we're going to be talking about Company of Heroes 3 and all things Company of Heroes 3. And in the months and weeks coming up to Company of Heroes 3 release and after the release, I plan to do more of these types of shows where we're going to be bringing guests on and discussing, maybe new patches, new maps, new changes to the balance, things like that. So it'll be kind of hopefully a regular thing now. And today's guest, we have AngryDutchman.
Hello, guys.
And we also have Elpern.
Yo, what's up?
Basically, the first topic was the new alpha. So the DAK came out, was announced about a week or so ago now. I guess both you guys had a chance to play it, play the new version that came out, the alpha build?
Yeah, definitely played it more than once.
Yep, same. And what did you make of it? Were you impressed by the DAK? Obviously, there wasn't the whole arsenal of the DAK available because you couldn't build this Tiger, the Stuka, and those types of units. But as a faction, from what you've seen so far, do you think they're viable?
I mean, I looked at all the unit cards, also like the disabled unit cards, and it looked like they had everything a faction would need in there with some pretty interesting units as well.
I mean, thematically, it's really cool, I think, with the very mechanized, similar to how OKW functions in KO2, So really looking forward to it. Of course, showing off some of the new mechanics as well with the towing.
Yeah, the tow. I really like the aspect of the towing, and I think I saw somebody else put out a video saying that you not only can just tow the Flak 88, but that vehicle, I believe, can tow other support weapons like pack guns and I think the LEIG as well. Maybe correct me on that if I'm wrong. But that's great. And I don't know if other vehicles can tow across factions. We've only seen it for the DAK, but I hope it's not just like a DAK specific kind of mechanic, because one thing that I particularly like, I guess, with Company Heroes 2 Americans, they were the only faction that could jump their vehicle crews out and repair themselves, which was give them a huge advantage over other factions. So and I feel like this type of mechanic, every faction during World War II was able to tow their vehicle. It would be very strange if they couldn't. So hopefully this is a new permanent feature in Company Heroes 3. So yeah, the towing mechanic was really good. Go ahead.
Sorry. Okay. About the towing, I'm just, the worry I have only for, of course, I'm a multiplayer focused person, so I'm really hoping that Relic can pull it off in a way that it's not like a gimmick, that it's actually useful in game. That's the main concern I have about the feature, but I think it's really cool, especially for all those single player or AI comp stompers out there. It's obviously going to be better the larger the map becomes, right?
Version-wise, it's a really cool thing. Seeing you tow the big Flak 88 forward, setting it up. I just hope that it's not going to be a bug fest. If there's a tiny crate or prop somewhere that it's going to be like, I can't set up over here.
Yeah.
So I hope they really manage to straighten that out.
There's never been a bug recorded in the Company of Heroes franchise, so we should be fine.
I was testing the towing out myself when I was playing with the Flak 88, and it did seem quite finicky. It was not easy to reverse it into the position. You had to drive up to the location, then turn around. But the turning of the Opel Blitz truck wasn't very smooth. So hopefully they get that fixed.
I think the turning of the gun itself, when she put it down, is very easy. So. I mean, that looked smooth to me. I always set it up to kill the British that were retreating, and it was a pretty good gun. So,
what do you think about the fact that the Flak 88 is now acts like a pack gun? That's where it's got a cone of arc of fire. Because in Code 1, the Flak 88 had 360-degree turret traversal, which was quite, I would say, probably too strong personally. It didn't require any micro, right? So as soon as an enemy vehicle came within range, it would just turn and shoot it. So for me personally, I think it's a good change. What about you guys?
Yeah,
I didn't even know that it wasn't in Code 1. I presumed it would always be that way, but I'm spoiled with Code 2, of course.
I think tactically it's more interesting with arcs, right? Because that means there's more flanking possibilities going on, which I think is adding to the depth of the game.
Definitely. And so during the when Relic announced the DAK, they also announced the release date for November the 17th. It's probably less than 4 months away now. Personally, I don't know. I think that's a bit too soon. I was expecting it to get delayed back until the beginning of 2023. I mean, the reason why I think it's too
why
soon.
were you expecting it to be delayed?
Because we hadn't had any news. It's been so long since we had any news or any kind of playable alpha to try the game out. The last time, the public got to play any kind of Company Heroes 3 content was back in late last year, I believe, around November as well. So, the fact that we hadn't had any news until last week, made me think that it would get pushed back. But now they've obviously announced the date. But I've seen just quite a lot of bugs, a lot of things that look unpolished. I'm not, where's your feeling at the moment, guys? Do you think they're on track for a good release date on November 17th?
I mean, it's very hard to tell from like the builds they give us. We don't know what they have behind the scene. Maybe they are already further ahead, but they just had a somewhat older build for us to play. Like we just see one mission, and I think it's really hard to tell state of the game about that. I mean, if we look at the mission, you see a new faction, and you see a lot of units in there. So they definitely have that fleshed out. It's not like there's something missing, from what I could tell. But there are like bugs, like for instance, like the trains where they put some British units in there. Those wouldn't fire, There were units in the trains, but they would never fire the MG. I think there was also a train with a bazooka squad in there.
They wouldn't fire
but they wouldn't fire at all. So it's weird. I hope they fix that.
Yeah, I mean, as with game development in general, once you publish something, it's usually, especially like early alphas, there's usually been a couple of team members, right, working on that alpha, getting that ready. And meanwhile, behind the scenes, the rest of the team is usually working on the game, right? So the build we usually get in these alphas can be like a month or so behind already. So it's of course not the freshest, even though it's the freshest for us, right?
That's true. Yeah, we don't actually see how far they've gone behind the snes.
Exactly.
With other improvements.
It's a huge game, right? It's like with every RTS game, it's always going to be huge, especially when you try to do a really strong single player and multiplayer, right?
So I mean, correction, two single players, right? Two single players, not one.
So they've got the Allied campaign where it's that kind of where you can choose where you can move like kind of Total War style on the map and move your units in battle groups. Whereas the German campaign, I said, is going to be a bit more linear, something that we've more experienced in something like Company Heroes 2 or Company Heroes 1, where it has like each mission that is set in stone and what you'll do afterwards.
I didn't know that. It's like a traditional.
Yes, that's from what I
missions.
Yes, just missions for what I had, and I'm fine with that personally. Though, Relic has done something unprecedented with Code 3, and the fact that not many people realise this is the fact that it's 4 factions. Every other Company Heroes when it came out was just 2 factions. So 4 is unprecedented. It's so much work, so much balance, so many more units to consider. And also, as Dutchman pointed out, the 2 extra single-player campaigns that we've got, so much work for them to be getting on with. But the studio is a AAA rated studio. They've also got themselves a new studio recently in Vancouver, so they've got got more staff as well. So maybe they could pull it off. But I'm a bit worried personally that we've not heard what's going to be out on launch on day one. Are we going to have leaderboards ready? Are we going to have modding? All these other highly aggressive. Like, is there going to be a chat room where people can type in there, to each other in the game to organise matches? Is there going to be a lobby system? We don't know any of this, and the fact that we haven't heard any of these confirmed features yet is a bit worrying. And it's only 4 months now to release. So that's kind of a few of my number one concerns there. What's your concerns, guys?
Pretty much the same as yours, I would say. But they've got a lot of questions to answer in the coming weeks. But it's always, expected features are the features that you want there. Like some of those you mentioned, those are definitely necessary, I would say, even on launch. Personally, but yeah, there's not only downsides, I think, with having 4 factions. Actually, if you look at some of the other very competitive games. One downside to releasing factions later down the life cycle is always that you want to make them viable, right? Which makes it easy that they can become too strong once you release them as DLC, for instance.
We've seen plenty of gimmicky stuff in Company Heroes 2 with the releases of the additional factions, I would say. So
yeah, because you don't want to release something as DLC, right? And then it doesn't get played because it's bad or something. So it's very easy that it becomes too powerful. And then you get these pay-to-win kind of discussions rolling about, So having all those 4 factions and balancing them all together during the main development of the game, I think is actually a positive thing, probably, or hopefully.
Yeah. Like personally, I just hope that they like really make that single player experience top notch. Because if there's a good single player experience, you have people go into the multiplayer, and the more people you get into the multiplayer, the more lively it's going to be. And if the multiplayer still needs work, it's something you can work on later down the line. But going back to the single player and trying to improve that experience is not going to do anything for the people who have already played it. So I think that's probably the smartest move.
Yeah, talking about the single player or like the new player experience, did you guys watch the Skippy little video tutorial?
Yes, yeah.
That was in the mission, yeah. What did you think about that?
I think it was a nice little overview, just explaining what units are available, what is not available at the moment. I did think it was funny that he said for the first time ever, a mainline infantry can repair vehicles, and
Oh yeah.
but there's a couple of instances where that is not the case. The Panzer Elite and Company Heroes 1, for example, can repair the vehicles, and I think there's you can get conscripts to repair vehicles with a commander choice as well. So
As well, so.
Volks Grenadier as well.
yeah, so that was quite fun. But yeah, I think it was a good idea. I think it's like a nice idea. I'm glad they've chosen a community member to cover the content rather than choose a developer to go through to give it like a little tutorial. So I think that was a nice little touch there that they added for the new players jumping into the game.
Especially,
I mean, they've done it with all the pre-alphas, right? Little videos. I think Loveness was in one as well.
Oh, really?
Right. I think there was one pre-alpha where Loveness also talked about it, if I'm not mistaken.
That's cool.
Yep.
Yeah, I just find it way more interesting that way with, like you mentioned, a content creator, especially someone like Skippy, who's quite, what do you call it, theatrical, it makes it interesting for the new players rather than just some dev talking about it. So, yeah.
I'm just going to play the next thing here for us. I've got a little video here, which I'll pop on screen. I'll just switch over to this scene and hopefully it works. Here we go. So this is the Company Heroes 3 developer diary beyond launch. So this is what we'll experience after launch, and we'll just play it for a minute or so you guys can, maybe some of you guys haven't seen this before, and then we can discuss this afterwards. So here we go.
We have so many new awesome ideas around what new experiences we can bring, things that we've tried in the past and we want to revisit. And so you're going to see new modes, hopefully new events, new challenges. We'll see new expansions. We're going to see a bunch of different content types that appeal to a swath of different players. And we have a lot of really cool ideas that are just in the back pocket that we haven't had a chance to go explore yet. It's important to us to be able to deliver content regularly. So how do we set up a calendar of meaningful content where players can expect new awesome experiences? And one of the best ways to do that is through seasons. So our goal is to hit a seasonal cadence, wrap that in a cool, meaningful, narrative-driven theme, and continually give content over the duration of those seasons.
We want our post-launch content to feel fair for all of our players. When you're progressing through our systems, when you're playing day to day, it needs to feel fun, and it needs to feel like what you're doing matters and isn't too grindy or too cumbersome, right? It has to be fun and it has to be fair. We know that in the past, sometimes certain content or DLC felt like it was too pay to win, or that commanders were too hard to acquire, bulletins were too grindy, didn't have enough impact. So all of those things are being taken into account. We want players to feel good when they spend money, and even when they don't. We're going to have a mix of both free and premium content for all players.
So we'll leave that there now, go back to the main show. So yeah, they've said that they're going to be doing this kind of free DLC, paid DLC. Again, let's hope, it doesn't, I'm hoping the paid DLC is not going to be in the form of the battle groups. I imagine it probably will be, but as long as it's balanced right. I know everybody, we always remember back in the days of when the Elite Troops came out in the Tiger race, and that was incredibly broken. People started calling Company Heroes too pay to win. So we've got to be very careful in that regard, personally, I think. 2 seconds, let's turn this light on. Yeah, they said seasonal content as well. So seasonal content, so maybe, in spring, autumn, things like that, they'll bring out new, a new load of content. And I think they were also talking about new modes. Maybe, I think he said possibly factions as well. So what did you guys hear there?
Yeah,
I
like
heard,
stuff you mentioned. Yeah.
like he said a bunch of fake terms and couldn't really figure out what it was going for. Like, what does those new things mean?
Yeah, it's very much a mystery, I think. But yeah, I'm really looking forward to the seasons personally. I think that's going to be very interesting, no matter how they do it. From a competitive standpoint. If you look at like League of Legends or Counter-Strike or any major competitive game, you always have those seasons, right?
Seasons,
Where
yeah.
they do like leaderboard changes or balance changes, or if it's new stuff. So yeah, really looking forward to that. I think also if you look at like World of Warcraft, you got the every time there's a new expansion, right? It's like a fresh new game release, and I think that's one way. If you have a new season, you could probably couple that with some DLC, and you could probably pull some new players, which I think for the long term, I think is really cool.
Yeah, I'm happy that they've got a kind of like a post-launch plan already in kind of place of what they want to bring. I do remember when I went to Vancouver a long time ago for checking out Company Heroes 2. I think while we were there, and it was they were about to release Company Heroes 2 and the Soviets, the main game. I think I was seeing them already working on the American faction, while the original game wasn't even out by then. So I imagine they've already probably got some people working on the extra content right now. So if anything of the past is to go by. Let's see what's next up in our talk session. So let's go on to notable differences between, I guess, the previous Company Heroes and Company Heroes 3. There's a lot of new awesome mechanics that people don't really consider or appreciate for Company Heroes 3. And let's go through a few of them now. So first up, we've got some of the new terrain destruction. So looking at the buildings, I don't think we've ever seen. I think with the amount of like detail going into the destruction of buildings now is amazing. What do you guys think about the new terrain destruction mechanics and things like that?
Yeah. Yeah, I was thinking Elpern's gonna go first, but I'll go first. But I think especially in that first alpha mission that we got from the DAK company, if you see the destruction on the buildings, you see a lot more debris flying around. Your tanks can drive through parts of the buildings. Your tanks can drive over the sandbags. I think that's very cool stuff, and it makes the terrain just come alive a lot more. So I really like that, but I hope it works out well for like everything, It needs to be clear what you can destruct and what you cannot destruct, where you can drive through, where you cannot drive through, that we don't get stuck and get pathfinding issues again, like you do get in Company Heroes 2 sometimes.
Yeah, I think they're really trying to pull the mantra here, every battle tells a story. So if you start in this beautiful Italian landscape, and then as the game progresses, right, it's going to change the terrain, which we've seen before, but not to this extent, I would say.
Just want to bring your eyes to this little video here I'm playing right now. They also discussed that when buildings collapse and units are nearby, so not even inside, they will most likely take a bit of damage here. So you've got these grenadiers here near this building, and it looks like they might take a little bit of damage. I know we've seen from the first initial trailer as well of Company Heroes 3 that you see like a chapel of this church fall down or whatever, or this tower on the church, and when that falls down on something, it could blow, maybe kill a tank underneath or something like that, I think, which is quite impressive. So there's a lot of cool mechanics, in the way buildings get blown up and flattened. It looks, though, I did try in the alpha build recently to try and drive my tank over the ruins of a building, and it wouldn't do that. And also, I noticed like flames against stone bricks don't seem to char the buildings, and also somehow damage. Against wooden buildings, yeah, it makes sense. It'll burn it down. But against like pure stone buildings, it should just blacken it. And I think maybe that shouldn't actually bring the buildings down. So I think there's a bit of tweaking to do with certain mechanics in that regard.
I mean, the question is, do you go for like a complete accuracy, or do you need to also think of the gameplay part, I think being able to break down buildings with the tool you have at hand needs to be a thing, even if it doesn't necessarily make sense.
Yeah, I mean, I agree to some extent, but visually, I think they've really pulled it off this time around for sure. And I mean, what else could you really ask for? We'll see how it develops with the with the damage and stuff. I'm not quite sure what they have planned there, so we'll simply have to wait and see till the release, I would say.
And next up is elevation mechanics. So this is, I think they were talking about verticality, where units that are higher up on higher terrain seem to have an advantage. Now, personally, I haven't really played around with that much, but have you guys? If you guys tried it out, tested it, what did you find out?
I mean, I remember in the multiplayer alpha we had this one map which had quite a bit of elevation, but still there, I think we had the Americans then and the Germans faction.
Yep.
And I think when I played that, there was still like my steward was just hitting the roads, and so I really hope they can get it to work, because elevation just makes so much more options for map making. But the biggest thing is it needs to work. If it becomes annoying because every shot is hitting, or your tank doesn't know that it needs to shoot higher or something like that, if it tries to shoot through the ground and it will just keep hitting the ground, then it's going to be very annoying.
Yeah, just to follow up on Dutchman there, it's very much could possibly restrict map makers, even like where to put it, if it's too strong or if it's bringing imbalance into the map. So I think there's a lot of work really to make sure it works as expected. Of course, it's more visually stunning, right, to have elevation in the maps. If you look at Code 2 today, most of the maps don't really have a lot of elevation because it doesn't really function that well. So hopefully, it can, make it a bit more interesting if they actually manage to pull it off. I'm not sure if you've played much with the elevation, Hans.
Yeah, I tried it a little bit. I know that there's definitely like a yellowish orange icon that appears on your portrait of your units. But yeah, I don't know. I didn't really notice any kind of big improvement or to my unit while they're being on the high ground. I guess I need to test it out, and I definitely feel like Reddit could probably bring out a very comprehensive tutorial over that new mechanic, because right now I don't think there's too much available online which really breaks it down. So that would be good.
Sorry, yeah.
Go ahead.
No, the indicator you're talking about is, of course, if you're fighting uphill towards a unit that's elevated, it basically nullifies all your green cover. That's how it works. So once you have that icon, you're not in cover. You're basically taking more damage, right? Which is something we could see, as Dutchman mentioned, then in the multiplayer alpha away some time back, where you could really see it a lot because of the map there, right?
Yeah, it was a map with like a beach, and like there was a lot of elevation, but like the mission we played was nearly flat. I think there was one point where you had to cross something, but you didn't really do any fighting there, so it was very hard to figure out if the elevation mattered at all.
Yeah.
Next up, we have side armor. So the introduction of side armor now in Company Heroes 3.
Finally.
Yeah, I think that's great. It definitely makes it a lot more important now for where you're microing your tanks. Make sure you're always showing your front forward. You can't really get away with sacrificing your side. Though I do still sometimes see units firing from the front and then somehow still hitting the rear of the tank. I think I saw someone point that out. I think it was Tightrope that showed maybe in one of his recent videos with an AT rifle that managed to do that. But anyway, with the sidearm, I think it's great because it really makes people think about how they use their vehicles now.
Yeah, for sure. And I am gonna jump into a bit of another topic here, but I love the way they implemented the showing of the armor in the UI, where you could see where the vehicle strong points are, and you could also hover and see the armor values, exact values on those parts of the vehicle, which I think is just really cool.
Yeah, same. I love that. And also, to talk about one of the good aspects of the UI, is that you can hover over infantry squads and see each individual man in that squad and see their health, which I think was
oh wow, I didn't try that yet. Oh, that's brilliant as well.
That's really cool, because then
I like this, like trying to not hide all the numbers. I would even go as far as, now you see the armor values, but it would also be nice if you can see like the penetration values of your gun. So like, don't hide everything like on some website far away, but like give it to the players raw, and then you can you get more of a feel, because if like I've played Code 2 for like thousands of hours, and if people come in my chat and ask me, hey, Dutchman, does this tank or this tank have more armor? I wouldn't know, you know. I would just have to go off guesses. I would never be able to say like this tank has so much armor, that has so much penetration. And I think that's very valuable information, especially for also for newer players to figure out what a new unit has. And especially with a new game, if we have like 10 or 20 new units, it would be very nice to like be able to figure out what all does this unit have.
Yeah, some kind of like encyclopedia, or in the main menu option to go through each individual vehicle. I think one game that does it well personally that I've been playing recently is Call to Arms Gates of Hell, and there's like an extras menu. We can go through each unit, see each individual man, all their stats, or each individual vehicle, and look at the armor, and their set distance. They penetrate more at long range or less at long range, and more. You can see each individual. It's a long, medium, and short range. I think that was really, really good. So I, can take my time looking at that, and that was really good.
Yeah.
Right, so we've already discussed, so 4 factions on launch. So we've got the Americans, the British.
I mean, I think there's one more thing we haven't discussed.
Oh, yeah?
That is the opening of the mission. You might almost forget, but infantry can sit on tanks, and I think that they displayed it by just going with that at the start of the mission was just a really brilliant move. It just really gets that feel of arriving on the battlefield, hopping off, and then and then you get into your battles. I think it was really cool the way they did that.
Yeah, same. I'm just thinking it's just such an awesome mechanic. If they get it right, because it's a bit buggy at the moment with the units trying to get on and off. I tried to put a 6-man gustatory squad on a tank, and only 5 men showed up on it. So there's like a missing guy, he had disappeared or something. But
he's running next to it.
Yeah, he's running alongside. But yeah, I noticed that infantry can't fire off the tank when they're on the tanks, which is not a huge deal, but okay. But yeah, I think it's a cool mechanic. It's a great way to maybe, if you want to take, get your units quickly to and from the battlefield. It's just another great addition, I think, to the Company Heroes franchise for sure. Elpern, what do you think about it?
I think they intend it as just another way of transport and not as a fighting position kind of thing. So it's a way of transporting. It's like the same when in Code 2 you have an open top vehicle, you put a 6-man squad inside, and you see 4 models there. I guess there's only so much space on that tank before it's gonna look crowded. So I also tried putting those 6 men on. You only see 5, but maybe 5 is like what they can do in terms of models. Maybe on different tanks it will be different. Maybe they'll show 3 or 4 models on smaller tanks or more on bigger tanks. So it's curious to see how they're gonna tackle that.
Okay. Right, and then this is something I would like to show everybody here, the shaders. So a lot of people, one of the big issues that we always see people raise with Company Heroes 3 is that people say it looks too cartoony. That's the number one thing I keep seeing as is an issue on all the YouTube videos of comments of people playing Company Heroes 3. It's like, this game looks cartoony, Code 2 looks much better than this, or even Company Heroes 1 looks like a lot better than this. And for me, I personally don't see it, and the only thing that I can see is why they think it looks like that is because everything maybe looks a bit too saturated, too bright. But I had a chat with Relic recently at TwitchCon and talked to them about this issue. They explained to me it's about the shader engine is not in the game yet. That's what, in the first build of Company Heroes, the alpha that we tried back in November of last year, it wasn't available. So vehicles that came out and fought for a bit did look brand spanking new because they didn't have the shader in place to make it looked weathered, make it look like it was battle worn. So I just want to switch over to this scene here real quick. Here we go. So this is the Sherman shader concept over here, and you can see with the different effects like water, mud, dust, bullet and artillery impacts, sand, and the charred effect. This is what we're going to see on the final release of the game, and it definitely everything. And that's where I think what people want. They want to see that nice grittiness of the warfare, and that's what we're going to see later on. What do you guys make of this kind of cartoony comment? What do you think?
Personally, I think I saw it at first, but I don't really think I saw it still in the last mission we got. I think this was already looking a lot better, and like the shader concept that they have, I think is great. It's great for immersion, different effects on different terrains or actions. So I think it's really good if they can pull this off and make it look nicely on all their tanks and vehicles. And I don't know how far they're going to put this. If it's also going to be on like a big gun, like a flak, or whether they will keep it to the vehicles. But
Personally, I don't really get the complaints because I think the game just looks great. And if you've seen any mobile games recently, you know that's not what a mobile games look like. So I personally can't really get behind those arguments, because at the end of the day, the graphics aren't the most important, but I can see it more from an immersive, perhaps, perspective. But even then, I mean, the game is really immersive. If you play the single player mission, you'd know that. But of course, graphics in general, there are some things that are a bit iffy. I think there was a really good post on Reddit the other day, which is talking about, I see Lars here in chat, talking about contrast. And I think that might be onto something, but that's more about the readability, right, of units, the way that you can actually see which unit you have fighting instead of looking at the unit card, for instance. And that I think is more important personally.
I also think the fact that you're in Italy, is all the buildings are very colourful. So
yeah.
people expecting like dark grim kind of aspect of war, but we're in a vibrant place. It's Italy, with all the red, blues.
It's not Normandy anymore, So
it's not going to be Normandy. So
and honestly, I would say thank God, because like if you go back to Co 1, it's all grey, and if you go back to Co 2, it's just all brown everywhere. And now finally we get some colors. I enjoy it a lot more.
Yeah, I personally think the graphics right now, for me, I think they've improved. And, one things I've seen, which, are a nice improvement is like the terrain destruction, not only just on the buildings, but the ground itself. If you see a vehicle get destroyed, they leave like an imprint on the ground where they've been destroyed, where you can see like metal cogs, armor plating, things like that on the ground where the vehicle's been destroyed, which I think is really cool. Same thing with like flamethrowers now. Flamethrowers, they burn the ground, you'll see the grass burn, and that area will be permanently scorched until the game's finished or whatever, So I think, that's some really cool aspect. Let's go
I think
on
also a very nice upgrade is if you destroy a vehicle, the wreckages, they look less bland than what they used to in Co 2 or Co 2. Everything was just like a black box, and now there's a little bit more variety, a little bit more color to it.
Yeah, I definitely saw like when a vehicle's engine was burnt out, I think the flame effects look more impressive as well inside the vehicle, I think. I paid attention to when I recovered the Stug D with the Famo recovery half track. When you initially recover it, you'll see the engine is destroyed. And I just paid a quick attention to that, and I just thought the flame effects coming from the back of that destroyed Stug was very impressive. So I think that was really cool.
And of course, Relic has always been very good with details, and that's not something you're gonna spot by playing a 20-minute mission, right? That's something you're gonna spot once you have a couple hundred hours or even more. Like even today, a couple thousand hours into Co 2, you still sometimes notice some small details that you don't see that very often, which I think is really cool.
Yeah, like the voice lines, like idle voice line chatter and stuff like that. I've been playing this game for almost 8,000 hours now of Company Heroes 2, and I heard a voice line maybe a month ago that I had never heard before, and I thought, wow, that's cool.
Really?
Yeah, I can't remember what it was now, but it was. I just love that aspect of the game. On the subject of voice lines, I was in this new alpha clicking multiple times on the units to see if they get annoyed with you, because in all previous Company Heroes games, if you click on a unit too much, they tell you to bugger off or shut up or things like that. Didn't notice it this time. I'm hoping that is going to be in the final version, because it is like a nice, it's not a must for gameplay for sure.
But it's a nice like fourth wall break. Like the Kubel, for instance, does the keep the APM up voice line, which I think is really cool. Just some small hints there to the player.
Yeah, it gives the game a lot more personality, I think, by adding these kind of voice lines in, which I love as well. So another new mechanic for Company Heroes 3 is breaching. You can now breach buildings, and you can do it with, I think, flamethrowers and grenades. Now, personally, I guess it's one way to definitely get rid of a squad out of a building, but in high-level play or just people playing in general, you could just, you can see it coming and you'll just get out of the building from maybe the opposite exit. So I'm not really personally seeing how breaching is going to have a massive impact on maybe competitive gameplay. What do you guys think about the breaching mechanic?
It's so hard to judge when you have played it so little. I think that's something you're gonna notice the effects of a while into the game lifetime, right? Where maybe the feature is useful, maybe it isn't. It's it's just very hard to tell. But of course, if you actually force your opponent out of the building, the the breach mechanic existing actually already done its job, right, from a competitive standpoint. So hopefully it's gonna, even it out and make garrisons less strong.
Yeah, I really like the effort they put in, because when you look at Go2, you just see like a downhill like garrisons on the map. Like the further Go2 developed, the less garrisons there were on the map. And I think having garrisons, being able to build like nice city-esque maps, it just gives you a lot more variety. So I really like the fact that they tried to come up with something to help with that. But like Elpern said, like if you're playing versus a guy like Elpern, he will probably be out of that building before the breaching unit is even there. So we're gonna need to play a lot more games, a lot more hours to see how useful it is and how strong or weak it makes garrisons.
Yeah, definitely. It's definitely an interesting mechanic. I'm glad it's there. It's a nice addition, but I'm not really exactly sure how it's going to be implemented correctly. So yeah, we'll see how they get on with breaching. And next we'll go on to, I guess, new units that we haven't seen before for the Company Heroes faction. So what new unit for you guys has been like, oh my god, that's really, really cool, I can't wait to play that you've seen so far out of all the factions?
Tough question. Do you have one in mind? You can start.
For me, I do think the Famo recovery half track is a really cool thing. Just to see that back in the, from Company Heroes 1, we had the Bergtiger, which you could recover vehicles, but now we have the Famo recovery half track, and yeah, it's just a cool, way to, cool mechanic to recover vehicles and stuff as well. So I like that as one of my favorite new vehicles. I also saw the Nebelwerfer makes a return. For the Wehrmacht faction, massive fan of the Nebelwerfer, and I really missed it in Company Heroes 2. So I'm really hyped for that. And is there anything else I saw? No, not off the top of my head. But yeah. What about you, Dutchman? Have you got one?
Well, I think the Flag 88 making the comeback.
Mm-hmm.
That's pretty obvious for me, but I must admit I haven't played enough Go 1 to know what we missed in Go 2.
Yeah, I'm really liking the dingo for the Brits. I think that's really cool.
Oh yeah, that looks quite cute, isn't it? Very small little light.
Yeah, I'm all that light vehicle play, Also, I just want to say that Burger Tiger, it's not called that. What's it called again? The recovery vehicle. It's probably my most hated vehicle personally, but we'll see how it turns out on launch. Hopefully, it's not too abusive, but it's definitely something I'm a bit worried about.
Yeah, I did. One of the issues with that vehicle, the fact that it can recover enemy vehicles as well, I thought was a huge thing. So I imagine that might get patched out for PvP to make it a bit more balanced, because I think I raised the issue when I was streaming the game the other day. Whereas, like, let's say if you're going in and you're diving in a vehicle to kill the enemy vehicle, like artillery piece, you manage to kill it, but then you get killed, but your opponent just recovers the destroyed vehicle and your vehicle that went for the dive, so it makes diving so much more risky. So I'm really curious to see how they're going to make that balance. One thing though I did notice is that it's not just going to be free anymore to recover vehicles. If you hover over wreckage, it will tell you how much it costs. And I think the cost of the vehicle depends on what it is, basically. So recovering a Tiger is going to cost more than recovering a Panzer III, for instance, or something like that. So I'm glad you can recover, and also you can also salvage. So let's say you see a wreckage, I just want to get the money, the supply and the fuel out of that. You can do. So there's that aspect to it as well. Definitely, it needs something for the balanced guys to have a good, strong look at. But I think it's a cool vehicle, and I like its reintroduction into the game.
From a build order point of view, you could make an argument, that it adds some depth there, because what you could potentially do is, go all in light vehicles, and once your opponent brings out heavier vehicles, you could try to recover those without actually ever having to tech, So that's
true.
One thing you could do as well.
Oh, we don't know which tech it's going to be. So if it is in the latest tech, then you will still need to tech.
Of course.
Well, for the Famo vehicle, well, actually, from what I've seen on the base buildings themselves, the Famo truck is attached to the structure, like a version of it. So I imagine that's going to be built in the late, probably tier 4, the Famo truck. It's going to come super late. And I remember in Company Heroes 1, I think it was the tier 4 tech as well for the Panzer Elite. Right. Also, tactical pause. I think that's an amazing new mechanic for new players. What do you guys think about tactical pause?
Yeah, loving tactical pause, honestly. I also love the fact that you can see like your cues on the screen. I think that's such a cool feature, and I actually wish they also added that to multiplayer. Say you select a squad and you can see the queued commands there. I think that's a really cool feature and something I'm really hoping to see personally.
Yeah, I have to agree with Elpern. That would be great if you like queue up units and you can just see the little path, what they're gonna take on the map itself. And yeah, for new players, it's great because they usually a thing that when I play with new players is that they just don't have enough time. It goes too fast, and then they can just hit pause, plan everything out, and then they're probably able to play at least a single player experience a lot better.
I see TQ in chat is saying, don't add it to multiplayer, please. It's not going to be a multiplayer. Tactical pause is going to be a primary, only, like, I think a campaign feature. I don't even know if you'll be able to do it against skirmishes against the AI. But yeah, I definitely know it's going to be for the campaign. Definitely not for multiplayer.
It's confirmed. It's only for single player. I'm talking more about the queue. I'd really like to have the queue in multiplayer. Because, I misclick a lot. And when you have like 5 things queued up and then you misclick the 6th one, you have to redo the entire queue. Imagine if you could just remove that last action. I think that would be really
That's a cool idea. I've never thought about that. But yeah, that sounds like a cool fix to the game.
Yeah, potential feature.
Next up is new veterancy systems. So I don't know if you guys remember from when you played the Americans in Code 3 Alpha, but when they gained the first stripe of veterancy, they can choose one of two abilities. I think that's really cool because it allows for a lot of flexibility in the way that you play with that individual unit. But yeah, I think the other factions, I think they're just standard generic veterancy that we've seen in previous Company Heroes games so far. But I think that's a cool change for the Americans. What do you guys think about the new veterancy system there?
Really
cool. Personally, I really like the way you had it in Company Heroes 2. I think just adding on veterancy like it was there just really gave a good incentive to keep a unit alive. And with choosing veterancy might be useful as well, but it's probably just going to end up you choosing the same veterancy 99 out of 100 times. That's a little how I feel. So they really need to make a
just to clarify,
proper distinction.
Hans, you're talking about the USF where you go vet 1 and then you pick a path, or
yes. So yeah. I think there's like, if I remember right, I think that you had the scout squad. I think getting vet 1 makes it cap faster. Or if you choose vet 2, it gives it something else. I can't remember off the top of my head, but I know I'll have to double check on one of my videos. But yeah, I think that's cool. Each unit having a way, the way to spec, because you might want an engineer squad to maybe repair faster, but then you might want the other one to be able to I don't know, have a bit more reach on their flamethrower. I think that was one actually. Yeah, I think they have like a specific burst for the flamethrower or something as well for another ability. So yeah, that's cool. Though personally, I did like back in the day the Wehrmacht and Company Heroes one where you could actually buy veterancy, and that'd be like a permanent addition onto the units, was a kind of cool thing. And again, Panzer Elite had offensive and defensive veterancy. Code 2, I think everything was kind of the same thing really. Where apart from obviously the OKW could get up to veterancy 4 and 5, which is kind of the only real difference there. I wish they would maybe experiment more with the other factions, but we'll see how veterancy plays out. Definitely, with the way they had in the past, it definitely added a lot more variety to the way you played, I think. So yeah, we'll
always
see.
Nice when you can actually like interact with the mechanics, right? Like currently in Code 2, there's no veterancy that you can actually interact with. Code 1, you could buy the veterancy for Wehrmacht. And for USF in Code 3, you're going to be able to pick different veterancy lines, as well as for Wehrmacht as well, right? You had at the start, you had the pick, what was it called? I don't quite remember what it was called, but you had that like different veterancy for all your squads, right? That you could pick.
All right. I don't remember that, but I'll have to.
Yeah, you had those 3 options on the left, basically. Okay. But I don't, with the commander faces, but I don't remember what they were called back then.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't forgive you. I'll forgive you there.
It's
about a year ago, right?
Yeah,
it was a long time ago.
Yeah.
So, anyway, so, right. So we've got, so the next topic is any bad changes or things people have flagged which they don't like. So we've already talked about the cartoony aspects, so we'll move on from that. and maybe things maybe look a bit too saturated. One small problem I think when I played the alpha a while ago was that units automatically vault over fences. Say you wanted a unit just to go up to the fence, but sometimes they would automatically move over. I guess that's an easy thing for them to patch out. I remember Stormless specifically talking about this issue, and I agree with them there that I would like to be able to put my units up against a wall and not have them vault over, because that could cost you the engagement potentially.
Well, I can totally see where they're coming from adding this feature, because vaulting in Code 2, for instance, is extremely finicky. Like, it's such a micro tax, really. And I think that's what they were trying to accomplish, actually fixing that micro tax. But by doing this, they also, remove a lot of the tactical gameplay that fences and stuff brings, and the maps are going to feel way more flat if every unit just automatically crosses everything. Not to mention, like, path finding. Does it go around the cover? Does it always vault?
Yeah.
What about retreat paths, etc.?
Yeah, well, they vault when they retreat. One thing that I like to do, when I'm playing Company Heroes 2, is to kind of try and predict the retreat path of my opponent, so that I can then, ambush it, grenade the retreat path to ensure the wipe of the squad. And if that becomes a lot harder due to the fact that every unit can just retreat through everything. I'm maybe not a massive fan of that, but we'll see. What do you think, Dutchman?
I think maybe they could do it in such a way that small things you just have that auto vault. I personally didn't have any issue with it, but that's maybe because I always right click drag if you want units to sit behind cover. But maybe, for instance, if you have bigger walls, like man height walls, that would be cool if you could also vault over that. But maybe higher stuff you would need to do it manually. But the small stuff like fences and such, I personally do like it, because I remember Code 2 maps like Vox Farmlands. If you see where your units are walking, they're taking such a long route around, just because at the start of the game there were so many fences on that map, and it's not even faster to manually click them over the vaulting. So I really like the way that there's a smooth vaulting going on now, and I get that people say, but I don't know where they're going to retreat to, but I think it's just a thing you need to get used to. You can also just predict where they're going to vault and retreat to, if the vaulting is in the retreat mechanic.
Sure. I mean, the worrying part is if you get unexpected outcomes, right, of your input. Say you tell them to go to a location and they choose a different path because they have to vault, or because they don't want to vault. Where is the line drawn when they vault or not?
It needs to be clear what is vaultable and what's not vaultable. I agree on that. But then they'll probably just take the shortest route, right?
Yeah, but is it always the shortest route? I mean, we've seen before in Co where units get stuck in animation forever, like repacking machine guns, etc., or picking up the 80 gun. Sometimes they might get stuck in the fence or something. There's a lot of variables, with those animations, I think.
True.
But we'll simply have to see, all faith in Relic, and they're getting so much feedback on the auto vault, so I'm sure they are, trying to figure out solutions for how they can actually implement it in a way that's not, not pissing everyone off. So yeah.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Next up, I guess we touched on the UI briefly about some of the good aspects of the UI, but overall, I think most people will agree that the UI needs a massive change. Let's just switch over to this scene. So here's this is a steal from AE's YouTube video where he, if he goes into it in depth, and I think he does a really good video on this where he describes on what's the issues with the UI and what needs to be improved. But for me, I personally definitely agree with that. It's a bit all over the place here with some of these buttons. This whole compass taking up so much space. If you look down the bottom, you've got these plane symbols and this green tick in a radar. I guess one button's the menu, one's the tactical map. But yeah, I'm personally not a fan of the UI currently. I'm curious as to what you guys think, and if you agree, what would you do to fix it?
Ooh. You want to start off, Dutchman?
That's a nice one. What would you do to fix it? Well, I played Code 2 forever, so I'm always looking at the top right hand side of the screen for my units. So I really like
maybe we could have a Code 2 UI DLC. So you just get the Code 2 UI,
Code 2, yeah.
$6 or something like that.
Well,
I mean, they might even add like Code 1 classic key bindings DLC as well, you know,
well, on that
for the old folk like Loveness.
On that subject, Dutchman, you can actually, with the unit cards at the moment, you see them on the bottom left, you can, in the menu in the game right now, you can tell the game where to put them. So you can put them top right if you decide to do so, like in Code 3, which is what I probably will do as well.
So they are going towards that direction of customizable stuff, and I just hope that they make enough things customizable so that everyone just can get their user interface the way they want it.
Yeah, exactly.
But then again, like user interface is personally, I think, also just a thing you have to get used to. I don't really think it's that bad. Maybe the minimap can be a bit bigger to make it easier to click on. But then again, I don't think we had any tactical map available yet. So if the tactical map is available, then you might just do what you are doing on the minimap now on the tactical map. So that might change.
Yeah, I just wish they streamlined it a bit more personally. Like they should really take inspiration from games such as, League of Legends here. Just as an example, one thing you could do here is if you look at the health bars, right? It looks like those tanks have the same amount of health as the grenadiers, and it's something, if you take a look at League of Legends, you have those boxes, for instance, on the health bars. And that way you can tell how much HP a vehicle have, even at full HP. Stuff like that, I think, is what's really important that they actually add, more streamlined features that provides more information to the players without actually changing anything or taking space, That's something I'm really hoping they actually add.
Yeah, that would be a good idea, because like a Panzer 3 or just a general Panzer 4, when they're fighting another medium tank, they both probably take 4 shots and then they die. So maybe you can have 4 boxes in the health bar to signify how many shots you can take from another medium tank, basically.
Yeah, and you could go a step further as well. When a tank is in snaring range, it could change the health bars in some way, so you can actually use a snare to actually critical engine strike. And things like that. Or when you repair, how much of the HP you need to repair before the engine gets fixed, or the gun crit, for example, more stuff like that I think would be really, really cool.
I mean, for me here, I think, like, for instance, you've got your attack here, defend here, and I don't know what that symbol, I guess it's a question mark symbol kind of thing. Like these, pings, basically. Once you know the hotkey to press, like Control A for attack here or something like that, you don't need them on the UI anymore because you've learnt them. So there should be an option to toggle them on and off. I do like the idea that they have got a compass, because it's a bit too big first. Well, my issue with that is, but if it was maybe a mini one somewhere else, because then a lot of people like to turn their map around. Like I currently do that now, where if I'm playing, I always have my opponent to the top of the screen, whereas my base is at the bottom of the screen. And if I say, there's enemies to the left, if I'm playing a team game, that could mean, if I say left, that would, for them, it could be their right, because they haven't turned their map around. Having a compass would allow, if I say, they're to the west or to the east, then that way it doesn't matter, everyone's compass is going to be in the same direction, right? So that would be a way, I believe, to fix it, which I think would be good. And then anything else? I guess that we got the protruding portrait over here. I don't think this needs to be so big, or it could be like maybe behind the text or whatever. One other thing here is to know how many kills your unit has taken, you have to actually hover over the experience bar now, which I didn't know. Which is a shame, because I would like to be able to click my unit and then instantly see at a glance how many units they've killed. Like in Company Heroes 2, you'll see the kill count, like you see where my mouse cursor is, it's around about here. So they could put it down there saying how many units they've killed, and then when you hover over the kill counter, then it tells you, it does a breakdown if it's infantry killed, tank killed, or friendly killed. You've also got like loadout. So you can see now that they've got like Kar 98s, I guess, as their main weapon. You've got upgrades as well. I guess this is maybe kind of nice, because then you know exactly what kind of, like, let's say you upgraded an MG42, but then you picked up a boy's anti-tank rifle, then you can click the squad and then see exactly what your squad's got on the upgrade section, maybe, which is kind of a nice addition. But again, I think that should be a hover icon. So you hover over it and then you get the information, rather than it be as soon as you click the squad, because you kind of want to minimize it as much as possible. And yeah, I think maybe it's a bit too big. Again, you got the fact that it's idle. This infantry is idle. Again, it's more protrusion out into the center of the map, so that maybe this this idle icon probably could be on the maybe here on the portrait or even below here, so it's not in the way. And another thing, for me personally, the icons are a bit confusing sometimes. So here we have like the repair symbol. It's a bit too much going on there. What do you guys think about some of the symbols?
I'm actually loving the repair symbol, but I guess it's not that easy. But it's definitely something you need to get used to. But if you look at that repair symbol, you also have a what do you call it? A meter, right? And that actually shows how well it repairs. Because if it's a stronger repair unit, it actually goes higher into the green, which I think is just really
cool. Does it?
Wow.
I did not know
I
that.
didn't notice that yet.
Is that
that's
really?
brilliant.
Small feature, and that's just so cool.
Okay.
And details like that is something that you're going to notice further down the line, right? But just one thing I'm really hating about the UI is the fact that there is still in 2022 no hotkeys for the commander abilities, which I think is just ridiculous. The fact that you have to click those unit cards is quite baffling to me. Like even in Code 2, I've always been like, why do I have to
But
go
what
down?
hotkeys would you place them?
I mean, anything. You can just customize them and then later on, hopefully anyway. So you could do like Control 1 or Control F1 maybe for the first one, or Control F2.
Yeah, because the first thought I had was like, just put them on the F row, but on the F row they got their construction buildings.
Yeah, but you can of course combine hotkeys. I just want hotkeys, man, for all my buttons.
All
I don't
hotkeys.
I don't want to click cards. It's not a card game, Yeah.
Cool. Yeah, so definitely, I think a few changes for the UI are needed. I think it's, I think that the alpha one that they had of last year was probably maybe slightly better than the one they have at the moment. But yeah, we'll see what I think they've got a lot of feedback on the UI currently, so Reddit knows people want change, so hopefully they'll implement it. And I guess you guys saw the DAK trailer recently, the Africa Core trailer. What be honest with me, guys. What did you make of that trailer? What did you think? Did it get you excited and hyped for the game? What did you think?
I personally really liked the opening of the trailer. Like the only part I disliked was when the woman was standing, I think, straight in front of the tank. It just didn't make any sense to me. But the rest of it, I think, was decent. Like from a cinematic point of view.
I'm already super hyped for Code 3, so I don't think the trailer would ever be able to impact me. But I am loving some of the sniff memes we can already see in chat here. It's funny, the random ass memes coming out of that is it's worth it for me personally.
Yeah, I mean, they definitely did like the original trailer they did for Company Heroes 3. I think was a lot better. I think I guess I can understand where Relic are coming from with what they want to try and showcase, but for me, and a lot of other people agree with this as well, is that they want to see epic battles, stories of courage and valor, in the face of great odds and stuff like that. And we ended up seeing a woman run around with a scarf for half of the video, unfortunately, and it didn't really get what was going on there. I was hoping if for maybe to transition it from her being a civilian into some kind of partisan where she would take out the Panzer IV, but no, it just saw her just running around looking sad and depressed.
Maybe a satchel hidden in the scarf or something.
Yeah, or something like that. But yeah, for me, I definitely think they could have done a lot better job with that trailer. And I mean, there were some cool slow-mo scenes of the tanks shooting each other with rounds and stuff, which got me, I was so impressed about that. But yeah, I think, the comments, explain everything there. If you just go onto the trailer's YouTube video, and you'll see a lot of the comments saying what they're not happy about it. But yeah, it definitely could have been improved. But yeah, at the end of the day, if that's put you off from playing the game, then I'm shocked, because the gameplay is a lot better than so the trailer does not do the game justice. So there.
I'm expecting a lot more trailers, so I'm sure this is not the only one.
Oh yeah, you think there'll be more?
Yeah, of course. I'm pretty sure there will be more trailers in the future. Of course, Relic loves their trailers. Code 2 had like what 10 trailers or something, So I expect to see more, and I
hope we don't have to wait too long. I'm looking forward to Gamescom, hoping they show us something new at Gamescom.
Yeah.
Isn't there like a trailer thing, or is this something I'm imagining on the roadmap they showed? Maybe not.
Oh wait, that redacted roadmap?
Yeah.
So
Wasn't there?
on
Maybe
the
there wasn't.
on the comment of Gamescom, I recently spoke to Andy and also Raj, the brand managers for Company Heroes 3. I asked them about, can you confirm the features for Co 3?
Oh, yeah, that
What's
is
going to
one
be
in August.
available? What's going to be available on launch? And they said they'll be more ready to show to explain that and what's available come Gamescom. So. That's going to be next month, and I'll be going to Gamescom. I don't know about you guys, but I'm really looking forward to heading there and going to Gamescom for my first time should be good fun.
I'm thinking about it as well, going. Just need to get everything worked out.
I'm unfortunately stuck in Scandinavia, but I would have loved to go, and I'm hoping that we get all the answers we want on those, specifically the multiplayer questions, right, that you're referring to. So hopefully we'll get some answers then.
I guess just a quick one here. So some people are wondering: is Company Heroes 3 in safe hands? In terms of who's working at Relic now, what's going on, and I would like to say to people who don't know this, we've got actually 3 awesome community members that have actually been hired by Relic in the last year or so, and they are Monolithic Bacon, who's an absolute amazing map maker. I believe that his name is Will, if I'm correct on that. So he has made some really impressive maps, a lot of maps that you've probably played as well in Company Heroes 2. So he's been hired by Relic to help make more maps. I'm pretty sure many of you guys know Dev M, an expert Company Heroes 2 and Company Heroes 1 player. He's won many tournaments and stuff in his time as well. And now he's working at Relic, and I think he's programming and things like that for them. And also we have Marcus. He's been a huge inspiration for the community and helping run events and things like that on Kochi.org over the years. He's also been picked up by Relic as well. So we've got some people who know what makes a great Company Heroes game, and now they're working at Relic. So hopefully, with their talent and with their passion, will be I'm quite confident that the Company Heroes 3 is going to do very well, because we've got basically people on the inside, as I like to say. That'll hopefully do really well and make Company Heroes 3 the best game it can be. I guess just a quick last thing.
And Jason as well, I want to throw him out there, known as Tarnation. He's a competitive 2v2 player, actually, or used to be a very competitive 2v2 player. You've met him, Hans. We beat you guys, both of you actually.
Yeah.
We beat you guys in the co-dev tournament a while back. I was teamed up with Jason Tarnation then. So
You got lucky.
yeah, I got really lucky getting him on my team. So
nice. And so, and then here's another question for you guys, and maybe chat as well. What do you think Company Heroes 3 needs for it? So on launch, what does it need to succeed on launch? Is there some key features, some key things it needs to have available? Is there some, and also maybe there's something that you really want to see for Company Heroes 3 that you've not maybe seen yet or confirmed? I guess Elpern, if you can go first on that.
Not sure how much I can say without spoiling anything. But I'm basically just hoping for the basic features that you expect from a competitive game. I'm of course a very competitive player. I try to play at the highest level. So my expectations are set from Code 2, and of course only improvements from thereafter, and not missing features such as whatever it could be. So hopefully they keep all of those features that are necessary to, for instance, run a tournament. So yeah, that's what I'm hoping for.
Mm-hmm. And you, Dutchman?
Well, I hope they forgot to add the feature bug splat.
We'll
so
see that
I think
again.
that's really something. That I think happened quite frequently in Code 2. Also for you wouldn't even know why it was happening or something. So I really hope the game just runs smooth and it runs good enough. And single player is good, and then the multiplayer content, from my point of view, can come a little bit late. Though they can fine tune that over time. But that first experience is probably for most players going to be that single player experience, and that just has to kick ass.
Yeah, I'm expecting balance to be extremely wacky on launch, as per always. So,
Yeah, I think you need thousands of hours of playtime
Yeah,
for balance to be
fix it all out.
for sure.
I mean, I appreciate that as well. And I was speaking to the brand managers at TwitchCon recently about what features are going to be on launch, and they said they want to prioritize on making sure the campaign experience is the best possible and very polished. Because we've got to remember, I think was it 80% something like that of the player base just plays comp stumps in the campaign. Very small percentage of people actually do multiplayer content. So it does make sense.
That will change.
I'm much hoping it will change and people will get more involved. For me, I think I would like to see kind of challenge modes for like these comp stompers to maybe get them into the competitive spirit. So let's say they beat an expert, who can beat the expert AI the quickest, and that's got their own little leaderboard for that. I think that would help. Build some kind of competitiveness within people to maybe then push them over to multiplayer. But for the main launch of the game, I do hope they will have some kind of leaderboard system in place. I do remember from Co2's launch, I don't think it was there for a few months. Until,
it was a while.
It was
like
a long time.
Yeah.
It was a long time before they brought the leaderboards out.
It was the same in Age of Empires 4, so I hope they don't go that route where they don't launch the rankeds or the leaderboards whatsoever, which I think would be such a major mistake because you lose all the competitive players on launch, right?
I think
I also see a very good comment here from Jason Murphy 22 as well. He says, I think multiplayer games in general are a bit too long. I wonder if they'll try to shorten games a bit. I think he's like spot on. Like that's something that might deter people from joining the multiplayer if your game's going to take 30, 40 or maybe even 60 minutes. So I wonder if the balance, like maybe it will be a bit more snowbally. Like if you're winning with an upper hand, and you can be able to finish games a bit quicker. Might be good for the multiplayer.
I think it'd be nice to see specific game modes. I don't know if you ever saw a game mode called, I think was it Attrition, something like that, where you had a set amount of resources, 50 VPs remain for both sides, and you just go. You had all the tech available, and you just did these quick battles, and they would probably be over within 10 minutes. But it was great because you had all the tech, you get straight into the action, and I think that could be a really cool, fun game mode, and can be quite competitive. I think, we're kind of stuck in our own old ways of just being 1v1, 500 VP matches, and that is competitive for sure. But let's open it up and make some more types of game modes, because not everybody's got 30 minutes to an hour to play these long sessions, and that's why some of these other games do a lot better and have much bigger communities and player base, because they're not such a huge time commitment. Definitely some smaller game modes for everybody. I think we saw game modes in Company Heroes 1 with the Panzerkrieg, where you manually controlled one tank and drove around and killed other tanks. That was short game mode. That was a lot of fun as well. There was like assault.
You had some in code too, but that was only single player. I'm thinking about the Ardennes Assault campaign, of course, where you had you could recapture vehicles, and it was like fuel based wind conditions, etc., which I think was really cool. And I'm a bit sad they didn't somehow add that into custom games, because I didn't think that would have been really cool playing that with those features multiplayer, just to try them out, But with that said, I can't wait till they launch the Battle Royale game mode, so we can steal all the Fortnite kids and make the game.
How would you see a battle royale for Company Heroes 3 working?
Relic will figure something out, I'm sure.
Something like that, yeah. We'll see.
Yeah.
Right. And
else?
I know we've gone over our hour time, so if you guys feel like you want to head off in a minute, feel free to do so. But I guess for you guys, when you play in Company Heroes 3, what's your ambitions? Are you going to focus on becoming the best players in the world at Company Heroes 3? Are you going to be making guides, content? Have you got any plans you want to share with everybody here in chat at the moment?
I think we're all big content creators, or try to be at least. So I expect us all to make some guides. I hope to see some from both of you, and other fun content as well, both on YouTube and on Twitch.
Yep. Yeah, I think I'll be loads on Twitch with the multiplayer, but I'm definitely also a guy that just wants to sit down and do that single player experience. And just gonna see down the line, because the market is always saturated. I think there are going to be popping up 20, 30 guides. So You need to be smart and think, why is my guide better than Elpern's, you know? I know it won't be, but...
Got to put a
I'll
lot of
make
time
mine
and
in
effort in there.
Swedish, so I'll
There you
keep
go.
Swedish on it.
I'll do the English one then. Okay, you guys cover your respective languages. Right, I guess we'll open it up for Q&A quickly now for the chat. We've got a question from Sal saying, "Don't you see the price of the game is very high?" I think it's what, £50 in the UK. It's generally the typical price for a AAA, the price for a AAA title, and the fact that there's four factions on launch and 2 campaigns, I think that is a lot of content worth the price tag for me personally. I see some people complaining in other regions around the world that saying that it's probably too pricey for them. Maybe Relic or Sega have not considered that, and they might lower the price based on those regions. But I think, yeah, for me personally in the UK, £50 it seems like a very reasonable price tag.
Yeah, I mean, newer games are always expensive, and even more so, one could say today, with the inflation and all that's going on in the world. So it's of course hard, and if you can't put away those money to buy a video game, I'd advise not to. But otherwise, I think it's going to be great value, as you say, with a lot of stuff like multiple single-player campaigns, and of course the huge multiplayer aspect as well.
Yeah, I have to agree with you guys. I think that it's decently priced, especially for what you get.
Any other questions, guys? Anyone? Does Elpern have a YouTube channel?
Oh yeah, I do.
Feel free to post it in the Twitch chat if you've got it to hand there.
Sure. I'll find it.
Look, any other questions? Thank you very much.
We apparently have been so thorough, there's no more questions.
No more questions, guys? Anyone got any more questions to ask us? King of the Hill maybe captured with a moving objective area that needs to be captured. Yeah, kind of be cool. I did play a game mode called Drop Zone in Company Heroes 2, like a mod. And if you went to the drop zone and dominated it, like a free weapon would be power dropped into the area for you to use, which is pretty cool. That was a fun little game mode I did a while back.
I'd love your race game mode to be official.
That was quite good.
Go-to racing. Yeah, the death racing. Yeah, that was quite a fun thing that I tried. I'm making. So I used the cheat mod to make a track basically, and people had to drive through the track and survive. It was quite a fun little thing.
Extremely entertaining to watch, and I'm sure it was equally entertaining to actually play the thing. So
yeah, I want to try and do that again. Actually, I was surprised by how well it was received. So we may do that again soon. What factions will they add later on? Well, Relic has said in their post-launch content that they possibly plan to add, I think he said expansions, possibly factions. I don't know. Who knows? I mean, it's very likely in the years to come. Aliens, yeah, we'll see.
Aliens, Japanese,
I think it's likely we'll see, in the years to come, there'll probably be a new faction added or something down the line. But I think 4 are plenty to be getting on with, to be honest, at the moment. Co 2 had 5 factions in the end, and Co 1 had 4. Co 3 is launching with 4, so who knows? We might even get 6 factions down the line. Maybe one more Axe, one more Allied faction. Who knows? We'll see how that takes shape. Do you think? Go ahead.
Yeah. The Salt has a question as well. Do you think that the game at the time of release will be a balanced multiplayer? Or does it need some updates to improve? I would say there's no way on this planet that will be a balanced multiplayer. It's just, you need thousands of hours and multiple updates to make it somewhat balanced. I just hope all the factions have just all the tools that they need to counter all the tools of the opponent's factions. So I think that's the best they can probably do. Just make sure every faction has access to enough tools to be able to take care of the tools of the opponent.
Here's a real question. Will you be able to reconnect? That would be a really nice feature to be able to, if you disconnect from a game and it drops, would you be able to join back into the game? I would love that to be a thing. Relic has not said anything on that matter, I don't think. But who knows? Maybe it'll be added down the line in the near future. It would be. I think it's just maybe kind of a very difficult technical thing to do, I would imagine. And I would also like to see something where you could maybe control the AI's units or take them over, because Worst thing happens when you're playing a really competitive game. A teammate drops and the AI ends up throwing all its units away, and then gives veterancy to the enemy, or the enemy steals said weapons, and it becomes a lot harder. So being able to maybe take over the AI's units or something, maybe some kind of feature or mechanic that I would really like to see personally.
Will
does
there
it-
be an Italian faction at launch? Unfortunately, there won't be, but you will see the Italians play in both the Axis and the Allies faction. So you'll see them on both sides, which I think is going to be really cool. And they've, of course, also confirmed other nationalities in these factions. So it's not like only Americans or only the UK, it's the Commonwealth. So you'll see units from all across the world, such as the Gurkhas that's confirmed, and other units.
Yeah, you've seen there's like a Royal Indian Artillery Regiment as one of the main battle groups that you can play as. And I think even in the alpha that we played recently in the past week or so, there was an Indian mortar team. I definitely heard that, and also saw Gurkhas as well. So it's nice to see a lot of different units getting represented in Company Heroes 3, which is cool. But yeah, I think there's one other big gripe that people do have is the fact that there isn't a standalone Italian faction, and it does look like the Italian units on both sides of the war are going to be kind of tied to battle groups. They'll be probably call-in units or something like that. It doesn't look like, from what I've seen,
it
you
would
can build
probably
them.
be hard to make an entire faction and make it balanced. They will probably already need to borrow a lot of German units to just make them viable, and that's probably one of why they chose to just probably do them like maybe battle group-esque, like you can call them in, because we've already seen in that DAK mission you can call in the Gustatori and the L640 light tank.
I think it's more the fact that the timeline they have this timeline where Italians actually fought on both sides, so that's probably the main issue. I mean, it's a video game after all, and we've seen in Code 2 how they balanced 1945 tech versus 1935 tech. So I'm sure from a balance point of view you could probably pull it off, but I think they just wanted those the time frame to be exactly where you see Italians on both sides. That's what I think. But
I think Sir 20 also has an interesting question. What will Co 3 mean for Co 2? What do you think, Hans?
Well, I expect it all depends on how good it is and how what's the performance on launch. If it's good, people are going to switch over. I think most people will probably switch over from Co 2 to Co 3. I do remember though back when Co 1, like the same when Co 2 first came out, a lot of the original Co guys did try Co 2, and if they and once they didn't like it, they then never played Co 2 again and became Co 1 die-hard loyalists. I know you got like Co Pepsi. No, Go Pepsi, sorry. And then you've got, I think, Razor and some other, Inverse, these old, veterans of the Company Heroes 1 guys just never got into Code 2 for certain reasons. So I do worry that might be the case. And then that might be actually happening for this. So you might have the people, that play Code 3 and I actually don't like this. I prefer the balance. The balance in Code 2 is a lot better. I have a better game there. And they might just switch to stay with Code 2. But over time, I think the majority of the Code 2 player base and of all the Code player bases will probably switch over to Co 3 as it gets more and more improved as the months and years go by.
Yeah, for sure. I totally agree with your view there. Any more questions? Any word on reporting players who leave games? Huge problem in Code 2 also is
Let's play 1v1.
Is Hans truly a sneaky devil?
A sneaky devil.
We don't know about the reporting players, but we can assume that something is going to exist. I mean, Code 2, you have the third-party system where you get to send in replays to report people. Hopefully it becomes more integrated into the game, but I don't think we've heard any word on that so far. As for if Hans is truly a sneaky devil, you're gonna have to ask him.
Well, we'll see. Sal says, "What do you think of the Relic launch content creators program that has Ricky serious about innovations of content creators as well as non-English speaking channels?" I'm not sure what you mean by that. In regards to what I think about the content creator program, I think that's great that Relic are doing a content creator program. I'm not in it currently. but I know quite a few people are. I don't, I think it's a lot of what's involved in that is under NDA, so I don't think we can talk about it. But I think it's nice that Relic are doing something for the content creators that are making content for Company Heroes. Beforehand there wasn't a content creator program, so they're doing something right.
I hope they're doing or will do more with the tournaments as well, because they've always been, they've had their tournaments, and then there's been the community funded tournaments, but there isn't really been much interaction between the two, as far as I can tell. So hopefully they will actually push and help the competitive scene as much as they can. That's what I'm hoping for personally.
Yeah, I think competitive scene is very important, especially to reach a big public on YouTube and get people to launch the game, to install the game, and maybe do some comp stomping. I think that's also something you get out of having nice 1v1s and tournaments on YouTube.
We've got Papa Endo is saying, better stat tracking. What stats would you like to see? I think...
Good question.
You want to take this up?
I mean, it depends what you mean by stats. Do you mean like player-specific stats, like personal to your account, or like after game reporting stats? Like, I know from reporting or game report stats, I would just love to see like reinforcement cost you've spent on different units. So you can see if you're like bleeding, if you're taking bad engagements, you'll see how much manpower you're getting drained from taking those bad engagements. I think that would be very interesting.
I mean, something I would love, and they have a couple of overlays in StarCraft that where after an engagement they can pull up a screen and say this guy lost this amount of resources and that guy lost that amount of resources. For spectator mode, that would be great for casting. Like, it just gives it visually. It makes it clear for the people that don't know that a Panzer Grenadier has 14 manpower and a conscript is 17 manpower, for instance.
Yeah. So if you're taking engagements with your say your USF vehicle crews, right? You'll see how expensive they are to actually reinforce, and next game you might not want to use those in action again, and you learn like stuff like that. So that's one thing I'd really like to see from the game stats.
Yeah, definitely.
Very unsexy, but I think it would be really cool to have a
resources spent might be a good one, Manuel. Indeed.
Yeah.
I just don't want my S-mines to show up on my def.
Oh yeah.
It's yeah. Always try to get a best KD and place S-mines. Like so many losses. Yikes.
One thing I'd really like to see, like with the personalized stat, would just be really cool to have like a screen filled with like how many tigers you built throughout your account's lifestyle, or stuff like that. It would be kind of cool. Like most played faction, most played units.
Yeah, also percentage of win maybe, or map wins even. Percentage of wins on a certain map.
And overall KD as well.
Yeah, overall KD would be cool. Code 2 only has the win in certain time frame, I think.
Yeah,
that it shows. So
I think they could really take a good look at. I personally am a big fan of how StarCraft does that stuff. Like, they got a really detailed stat screen, and you can just really check out where am I lacking at, what do I need to improve, which is cool.
Training mode would be nice to test out different kind of units against each other. Right now you need cheat mod to fill the gap, and I totally agree with you, but I think even better would be something Hans talked about earlier with the tech tree. Age of Empires has it, I think StarCraft also has it. Like in League of Legends, you can go and read on your champion. Stuff like that. Just show a tech tree with all the units, all the stats, and maybe you could like even compare units in this tech tree, so you could like compare a vehicle to another one, for instance. I think that would be really cool, and that's something I'm definitely hoping they're doing.
Will I be playing 3v3 off this? No, so what I'm going to be doing off this, guys, is I've got an MSI PC to unbox, which would be pretty cool, so I'll be doing that.
Ooh, nice.
Yeah, so it should be cool. What's our personal goals for Company Heroes 3? For me, I want to grow as a content creator, keep posting out the guides. I love the franchise. And I imagine I'll probably really enjoy Company Heroes 3 as well. So I wanted the best to succeed. I'm just going to be putting out loads more content. I put my heart and soul into the franchise like I've been doing for the last 10 years. I've already put my eggs in this basket a long time ago, but yeah, it's what, might as well keep going. I've been doing well so far, so no reason to stop now. And Dutchman, what's your personal goals?
Yeah, just like have fun, try to get on top of the ladder again. That's probably what I'm gonna do. I just hope it's gonna be a good game. Gonna enjoy myself for another 5,000 hours, waste another half a year of it. Lovely.
Yeah, similar position here. Just enjoy myself, have a really good time playing this amazing game franchise, and hopefully do well in competitive as well. As for like my content creator journey, it's still a hobby, but I'd love to make it a real thing. But we'll simply see. It would be a dream, but we'll see.
Is there a multiplayer beta before launch? I have no idea on that. Relic hasn't said anything, but it's only 4 months away now, so I doubt it. Maybe, who knows? But I think it's only 4 months away. They're probably going to be working really hard now to finish the game off now, and they've probably got enough feedback to get the game in the right shape for launch.
Yeah.
Otherwise, we'll give it to them after launch. Do you have any roadmap for the podcast, HelpingHans?
Roadmap, yeah, the future of this podcast. I just wanted to see first of all how this one would go. I think it's done well. We've got a nice show up, nice showing from the chat. I'll be putting this on YouTube later on for you guys to check out, and I'll be tweeting about it later on. But as for the next episodes to come, I guess the next one maybe possibly after Gamescom, to round out and maybe discuss the new information that Relic might drop during Gamescom. So that's probably, maybe if we do another episode, the next episode will probably be then. But yeah, I'm hoping to keep this going. I'm hoping to integrate it into my kind of mini game that I've made with some programmers. The reason why it's called the High Castle Show is because I'm hoping to implement it and integrate it with the High Castle that I've got in my mini game, where you guys can customize your subscriber characters. So and yeah, we'll be just covering more. We talk about balance, future content, maybe anything interesting. We'll try and discuss, and we'll try and hopefully keep it within maybe an hour to an hour and a half. Yeah, that's the plan.
Yeah, cheers for having us, and great talk. Very interesting subject. Of course, we're all passionate about it, so we can keep going on all night if we wanted to. I'm sure of it. But yeah, cheers.
Yeah, guys,
thank you for having me.
Yeah, thank you so much, guys, for coming on the show. Really appreciate you taking the time out of your day to be here. And yeah, hope you have a great rest of your day and week.
Thank you. And a big shout out to chat. Appreciate you all. See you next time.
And just again, here, guys, that's Elpern's channel, and there's Dutchman's channel. Go check them out, guys. There's their Twitch channels. They do stream regularly, and they'll be playing a couple of heroes. I think Dutchman was just streaming before this stream as well. So, yeah, they both play on the regular, and yeah, go check them out over there.
Cheers.
Right. See you guys.
Bye.
So guys, that's the end of the episode 1 of the High Castle Show. Hope you enjoyed it, and if you did, please do let me know in the comment section, or if you feel like we can improve somewhere, please do let me know there as well. You can now check out more content up here and over here, and you can subscribe down here. Thank you so much for watching, guys, and I'll catch you in the next video. Take care.